Captain Lee Do-hyun stared at the massive crystal ship floating in space ahead of them. The alien vessel was 3 times larger than his exploration ship, the New Soul. Its surface sparkled like a giant diamond against the black of space. He had never seen anything so beautiful or so terrifying. "Captain, they're scanning us again," said Lieutenant Commander Choi Min-ho from his station. The young officer's voice was steady, but Lee could see the worry in his eyes. Dr. Park Nari looked up from her scientific equipment. "The scan is different this time. It's much deeper. They're looking at our DNA, our brain patterns, everything." Lee nodded. They had been trying to make contact with these aliens for 3 days now. The crystal beings called themselves the Velthak Empire. From what they could understand, the Velthak controlled most of the known galaxy. Every other alien species served them in some way. Engineer Kim Ji-soo walked onto the bridge, wiping grease from her hands. "Captain, I've been studying their technology. It's amazing. Their engines are 1,000 years ahead of ours. Maybe more. Any luck with communication?" Lee asked. "Some," Dr. Park said. "Their language is complex, but I think I understand the basics. They use something called an alpha rating system. It ranks every species in the galaxy." "Ranks them how?" "By their technology, their psychic powers, and how well they fight. The Velthak are Alpha class, the highest rating possible. They've held that position for over 3,000 years. A new sound filled the bridge. It was the alien communication system activating. A voice spoke in broken human language. The words were cold and filled with disgust. "Small creatures in metal shell. You are scanned. You are rated. You are Omega class. Lowest of all species. You are barely alive." Lee stepped forward. "This is Captain Lee Do-hyun of the human exploration vessel New Soul. We come in peace. We want to learn about your empire and share knowledge." Laughter echoed through the speakers. It was not a pleasant sound. "Share knowledge? You have no knowledge worth sharing. Your kind is rated below even the simplest servants. You are insects," Dr. Park whispered urgently to Lee. "Captain, I'm reading multiple ships approaching. Big ones." On the main screen, more crystal ships appeared. Each one was larger than the last. The biggest ship was the size of a small moon. Its surface was covered in weapons that glowed with deadly energy. The voice spoke again. "I am Overlord Zithkai of the Velthak High Council. Your species will serve the Empire. Your worlds will be given to better species. You will work in the deep mines until you die. We won't be slaves," Lee said firmly. "Humans are free people. We govern ourselves." More laughter. "Free? Omega-class creatures cannot be free. Freedom is for alpha species only. You will learn your place. What if we refuse? Then you will be removed. Like all the other failed species before you." Dr. Park's equipment started beeping wildly. "Captain, they're charging weapons." "All ships retreat immediately," Lee ordered into his communication device. But it was too late for some of them. The Velthak weapons fired beams of pure energy. 3 human ships exploded instantly. The crews didn't even have time to scream. "Hundreds of people died in seconds. They just murdered our people," Choi Min-ho shouted. "Pest control," the Velthak voice said calmly. "Nothing more." The New Soul and the remaining human ships jumped to faster-than-light speed. They escaped, but barely. Lee sat in his captain's chair, shaking with anger. He had just watched good people die for no reason other than being considered inferior. Dr. Park was studying the data from their encounter. "Captain, I found something interesting. The Velthak rating system only measures certain things: technology, psychic power, and standard military strength. But it doesn't measure other things." "Like what?" "Creativity, adaptability, the ability to learn and change quickly, the willingness to fight when everything seems hopeless." Engineer Kim was nodding. "I was watching their ships during the attack. They're powerful, but they're also predictable. They fight the same way every time, like a machine following a program. They've been the strongest species for so long they've forgotten how to really fight," Choi Min-ho added. "They just use their superior technology to crush everything." Lee thought about this. The Velthak were stronger, more advanced, and had better weapons. But maybe that was also their weakness. They were so used to winning easily that they had become lazy. "Dr. Park, what do you know about other species in the galaxy?" "From what I could translate, there are hundreds of different alien species. Most are rated as beta or gamma class. They serve the Velthak in different ways. Some mine resources, others build things, and some fight in their armies." "Are any of them happy about serving the Velthak?" From the emotional undertones in the communications I intercepted, I'd say no. They serve because they have to, not because they want to. Lee made a decision. Send a message to Earth, tell them what happened here. Tell them the Velthak consider us the lowest form of life in the galaxy. Tell them that 3 ships full of good people are dead because we were born human. What else should I tell them, Captain? Tell them that the Velthak made a mistake. They think we're weak because their computers said so. They think we'll just give up and become slaves. They don't understand humans very well. Kim Jisoo smiled grimly. They're about to get an education. As the new soul traveled back toward human space, Lee thought about the long journey ahead. Humans had just met their first alien civilization, and that civilization wanted to enslave or kill them all. The Velthak Empire controlled most of the galaxy. They had technology that seemed like magic. They had weapons that could destroy planets, but they had also made a very human mistake. They had made Lee Doyun angry. They had killed his people and called his species worthless. They thought humans would just accept their fate like every other species had done for thousands of years. The Velthak were about to learn that humans were very different from every other species they had ever met. They were about to discover that being rated Omega class by a bunch of crystal bullies didn't mean what they thought it meant. The war for human survival was about to begin. Admiral Song Hyunwoo stood in the war room on Earth, looking at the holographic display of human space. Red dots marked where Velthak ships had been spotted. There were too many red dots. How many ships are we facing? He asked. Dr. Yoon Sung-min checked his data tablet. The intelligence suggests around 500 Velthak vessels. They're treating this as a standard pacification mission. Nothing special. 500 ships to conquer all of human space? They don't think they need more, said Commander Shin Yoonji. The young pilot had just returned from a scouting mission. I've seen how they fight, Admiral. They just fly straight at their targets and blast them with superior firepower. It's worked for them for thousands of years. Admiral Song frowned. What about their ground forces? Minimal, Yoon Sung-min replied. They rely heavily on orbital bombardment and fear tactics. Most species surrender after seeing a few cities destroyed from space. They really think we'll just give up? Yes, sir. According to intercepted communications, they believe this will take a few weeks at most. They're already planning which human worlds to give to other species as rewards. The Admiral walked to the window and looked out at the military base below. Thousands of soldiers were training, preparing for a war they had never imagined they would fight. 6 months ago, humans thought they were alone in the universe. Now they were about to fight for their very existence. Commander Shin, tell me about their ship designs. They're powerful but predictable, sir. Heavy armor, massive energy weapons, strong shields. But they're also slow and they always use the same attack formations. They haven't needed to innovate in centuries. Any weaknesses? Their shields regenerate slowly. Their weapons need time to recharge between shots. And their ships are so big that they can't change direction quickly. Engineer Kim Jisoo entered the room, carrying a damaged piece of alien technology. Admiral, we've finished studying the Velthak equipment from the first encounter. I have good news and bad news. Bad news first. Their technology is incredibly advanced. Their materials are stronger than anything we can make. Their energy systems are more efficient than ours. In a direct fight, one of their ships can destroy 10 of ours. And the good news? Kim smiled. They've been using the same technology for hundreds of years. There's no innovation, no creativity. It's like they stopped trying to improve because they were already the strongest. Also, their systems are designed to fight other advanced civilizations, not primitive species like us. Dr. Yoon looked up from his tablet. What do you mean? Their sensors are designed to detect high-energy signatures and advanced materials. But our ships use simple steel and basic nuclear engines. We're almost invisible to their detection systems unless we're right next to them. Admiral Song began to understand. They can't see us coming. Exactly. And their weapons are designed to penetrate advanced shields and armor. Against our simple materials, they're actually overkill. It's like using a laser cannon to kill a mosquito. The energy just passes right through. Commander Shin stood up excitedly. Sir, I think I know how we can fight them. Go on. We don't fight them like they expect. No big fleet battles. No standing armies. We use hit-and-run tactics. Small groups of fast ships attacking from unexpected directions. Lieutenant Commander Choi Minho had been quiet during the meeting, but now he spoke up. The Velthak communications mentioned that they've never faced guerrilla warfare. Every species they've conquered has tried to fight them directly. Because that's how civilized species fight, Dr. Yoon added. Honor battles. Fair fights. Rules of war. But we're not civilized by their standards, Admiral Song said slowly. We're Omega class. The lowest of the low. We don't have to follow their rules. Kim Jisoo was nodding enthusiastically. We can use their prejudice against them. They expect us to be weak and predictable. We can be weak and unpredictable instead. The first Veltak attack came a week later. 50 crystal ships approached the human colony of New Busan. The planet had 3 million people and no military defenses. It should have been an easy target. But when the Veltak ships arrived, the planet seemed empty. No defensive fleets, no orbital stations, no communication signals, just a quiet world spinning in space. Scans show human life signs on the surface, reported a Veltak officer to his commander. But no military presence. They must have given up already. The Veltak commander was disappointed. These humans are even weaker than expected. Begin landing operations. As the alien ships moved into orbit, space around them suddenly filled with human vessels. But these weren't military ships. They were cargo haulers, mining vessels, passenger liners, and converted civilian craft. Each one carried improvised weapons and desperate crews. The Veltak were confused. This wasn't how war was supposed to work. Where were the battleships? Where were the formal challenge communications? Where was the honor? The human ships attacked from every direction at once. They used ramming attacks, improvised missiles, and weapons that shouldn't have existed. Some ships crashed directly into Veltak vessels, their crews sacrificing their lives to damage the enemy. This is chaos, the Veltak commander shouted. They fight like animals. But the chaos was working. The Veltak ships were designed to fight other organized fleets, not swarms of unpredictable attackers. Their targeting systems couldn't keep up with so many small, fast-moving targets. Commander Shin Yoonji led a squadron of modified fighter craft through the battle. Her ships were tiny compared to the Veltak vessels, but they were fast and hard to hit. She had studied the alien ship designs and found their weak points. All fighters target their sensor arrays, she commanded. Blind them first, then hit their weapon systems. The human fighters darted between the massive crystal ships like angry wasps. They struck at vulnerable points that the Veltak had never bothered to armor properly. After all, what primitive species could possibly threaten such advanced vessels? Within an hour, the Veltak attack force was in retreat. 5 of their ships had been destroyed, and the rest were badly damaged. They had never experienced anything like this in 3,000 years of conquest. But the humans weren't finished. As the Veltak ships tried to escape, human vessels that had been hiding in the asteroid field opened fire. More alien ships exploded. Others limped away with critical damage. On the Veltak command ship, Overlord Zithkai received the battle report with disbelief. Impossible. Omega-class species do not defeat Alpha-class fleets. The rating system cannot be wrong. Sir, the humans fought using tactics we've never encountered. They showed no regard for their own lives. They used civilian ships as weapons. They ignored all rules of civilized warfare. Because they are not civilized, Zithkai said angrily. They are primitive savages. Send more ships. Send 100 ships. Crush them completely. But across human space, the pattern was repeating. Veltak forces that expected easy victories were finding desperate, creative, and utterly unpredictable resistance. Humans were using tactics that no other species had ever tried. They were fighting like their survival depended on it because it did. In the war room on Earth, Admiral Song received reports from across human space. The first phase of the Veltak invasion had failed completely. The aliens were confused, angry, and beginning to realize that their Omega-class rating for humans might have been a mistake. Sir, Dr. Yoon said, we're intercepting Veltak communications. They're calling for reinforcements. Lots of reinforcements. How many? They want to bring their entire war fleet to human space. Every ship they have, Admiral Song smiled coldly. Good, let them come. The more ships they send, the more ships we can destroy. They still don't understand what they're fighting. The Veltak Empire was about to learn that being the strongest species in the galaxy meant nothing if you didn't know how to fight the weakest. Professor Bei Taewon worked day and night in his laboratory, surrounded by pieces of destroyed Veltak technology. His team had been studying alien weapons and ships for months now. What they had discovered was changing everything. Professor, you need to see this, called his assistant. She was pointing at a holographic display showing the inside of a Veltak energy weapon. Bei walked over and studied the image. Remarkable. The design is incredibly advanced but also incredibly wasteful. They're using 10 times more energy than necessary. That's not the interesting part, his assistant said. Look at the control systems. Bay examined the weapon's computer brain. After a moment, he began to smile. They haven't updated their software in over 1,000 years. The programming is ancient. Can we improve it? Improve it? We can completely redesign it. We can make weapons that are twice as powerful using half the energy. The Veltak stopped innovating because they were already the strongest. They forgot how to get better. Across the galaxy, Colonel Han Mi-young was teaching other alien species how to fight back against their Veltak masters. She had traveled to dozens of worlds, bringing human military tactics to oppressed peoples who had given up hope long ago. The key is to stop fighting the way they expect, she explained to a group of rebel aliens on the planet Karis. Don't try to beat their technology. Outsmart their tactics instead. The alien rebels looked doubtful. Their species, the Carisians, had been slaves to the Veltak for 800 years. They were small, weak creatures who had never won a single battle. But Colonel Han, we have tried to fight before. The Veltak always defeat us easily. Their ships are too strong. Because you're fighting their war, she replied. You're using their rules. You line up your ships and have a fair fight. That's exactly what they want you to do. She activated a holographic display showing a Veltak military formation. Look at how they position their ships. Perfect order. Every vessel in exactly the right place. It's very impressive and very predictable. How do we fight that? You don't. You avoid it completely. You attack their supply ships. You sabotage their communication systems. You hit them where they're weak, not where they're strong. One of the younger Carisians raised his hand. But that seems dishonest. Colonel Han laughed. Dishonest? The Veltak have enslaved your people for 8 centuries. They killed your children and stole your worlds. And you're worried about fighting dishonestly? The Veltak Code of Battle says forget their code. Han interrupted. Their code is designed to keep you weak. They want you to fight fair because when you fight fair, you lose. Start fighting to win instead. On Earth, Dr. Lim Donghae was working on a different kind of weapon. Instead of building better guns, he was studying Veltak psychology. He had discovered something that could hurt the crystal beings more than any bomb. Admiral Song, I think I found their weakness, he announced during a military briefing. Their ships have a weakness we haven't found yet. Not their ships. Their minds. The Veltak have believed they are superior for so long that it's become the foundation of their entire society. They literally cannot imagine losing to a lesser species. Admiral Song leaned forward. Explain. Every defeat we give them damages their psyche. Every time we destroy their ships or outfight their tactics, we're not just winning battles. We're breaking their confidence. They're starting to doubt themselves for the first time in thousands of years. How do we use that? Dr. Lim smiled. We make them afraid, real fear. Not just fear of losing battles, but fear that everything they believe about themselves is wrong. The human psychological warfare campaign began immediately. Every time humans destroyed a Veltak ship, they broadcast the recording across alien communication networks. Every time humans outsmarted Veltak tactics, they made sure other species heard about it. The message was simple. The Alpha-class species could be beaten by Omega-class humans. If humans could do it, any species could do it. Captain Lee Do-hyun, now commanding a fleet of upgraded human ships, was leading the attack on a major Veltak supply base. His ships used the new weapons that Professor Bay had designed. They were built from captured Veltak technology, but improved with human creativity. Target their command center, Lee ordered. Let's see how they like being surprised. The human fleet appeared out of nowhere using stealth technology that the Veltak couldn't detect. Their new weapons cut through Veltak shields like paper. The alien base, which had never been attacked in its 1,000-year history, was destroyed in minutes. But Lee wasn't finished. As Veltak reinforcements arrived, expecting to find human ships retreating, they found something else instead. The humans had hidden more ships in the debris field. The reinforcements flew directly into a trap. Impossible. The Veltak commander screamed as his fleet was destroyed around him. Omega-class species cannot use such tactics. Our rating system cannot be wrong. Your rating system is garbage, Lee replied over the communication channel. You rate species on technology and psychic power. You never thought to rate intelligence or creativity or the willingness to do whatever it takes to survive. The Veltak commander's ship exploded before he could reply. Across the galaxy, rebellion was spreading like wildfire. Species that had served the Veltak for thousands of years were suddenly fighting back. They were using human tactics, human weapons, and human determination. On the Velthak homeworld, Overlord Zithkai was meeting with his High Council. The crystal beings were in panic for the first time in their history. The humans have destroyed 17 of our main fleets, reported one council member. They have liberated 43 worlds. Other species are joining their rebellion. This cannot continue, Zithkai declared. We are the Alpha species. We have ruled this galaxy for 3 millennia. We cannot be defeated by primitive creatures. But they are defeating us, another council member said quietly. Perhaps our rating of them was incorrect. No. Zithkai's crystal body flared with angry light. The rating system is perfect. The humans are simply fighting incorrectly. They refuse to follow the rules of civilized warfare. Maybe that's why they're winning. The council chamber fell silent. For the first time in thousands of years, a Velthak had suggested that their way of fighting might not be the best way. Prepare the Grand Fleet, Zithkai ordered. Every ship we have, every weapon we possess, we will destroy the humans completely. We will erase them from existence before their rebellion spreads any further. But it was already too late. The rebellion had spread to every corner of the galaxy. Hundreds of species were rising up against their Velthak masters. They were using human tactics, human weapons, and most importantly, human hope. The humans had shown the galaxy something that had been forgotten for thousands of years. The Alpha-class species could be beaten. They could be outfought, outsmarted, and defeated. Dr. Park Nari, who had been studying Velthak society since the first contact, made a disturbing discovery. Admiral, I've been analyzing their historical records. The Velthak didn't become the dominant species by being the strongest. What do you mean? They systematically destroyed every species that showed potential to surpass them. Any race that developed advanced technology or showed military creativity was eliminated. The Alpha rating system wasn't just for classification, it was for targeting. Admiral Song felt a chill run down his spine. You're saying they planned to exterminate us from the beginning? Yes. Humans were rated Omega class because we were meant to be killed quietly. They've done this to hundreds of species over the millennia. They genocide anyone who might threaten their supremacy. Then they made a mistake. What mistake? They should have killed us faster, Admiral Song said coldly. Because now we're going to return the favor. They wanted to erase us from existence. Let's show them what human erasure really looks like. The war was about to enter its final phase. The Velthak Empire, which had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years, was about to learn what happened when you underestimated the survival instinct of an Omega-class species. General O.J. Wan stood on the bridge of the newly built human dreadnought Soul's Revenge. The massive warship was unlike anything humans had ever constructed before. It was built using captured Velthak technology, but redesigned with human ingenuity and a very human desire for payback. General, we're receiving surrender offers from 17 different alien species, reported his communications officer. They want to join our side before we reach their systems. Tell them they're welcome, but they need to prove their commitment by attacking Velthak positions in their own territory, O replied. No free rides in this war. Dr. Kang Sohyun entered the bridge carrying a data tablet that glowed with strange energy. She was the lead scientist on humanity's most secret project. General, the quantum erasure weapons are ready for testing. How do they work? Instead of just destroying matter, they remove it from space-time itself. Anything hit by these weapons doesn't just die or explode. It stops existing. It never existed. No wreckage, no radiation, no trace that it was ever there. General O studied the weapon specifications. Will this work on their ships? It will work on anything. Ships, planets, stars if we build a big enough version. But General, once we use these weapons, there's no going back. This technology is so advanced that it makes us more powerful than the Velthak ever were. Good. They wanted to erase us. Now they can find out what real erasure feels like. Captain Ryu Junsu was preparing for the assault on the Velthak homeworld. His fleet consisted of 200 human ships and 800 alien vessels from species that had joined the rebellion. It was the largest attack force ever assembled against the Velthak Empire. Captain, intelligence reports that the entire Velthak Grand Fleet is defending their homeworld, said his tactical officer. Over 3,000 ships. Every vessel they have left. Perfect, Ryu smiled. We can finish this war in one battle. The Velthak homeworld was a massive crystal sphere floating in space. Its surface was covered in cities that sparkled like diamonds. For 3,000 years, it had been the center of galactic civilization. No enemy had ever come close to threatening it. Overlord Zithkai stood in his command center, watching the approaching human fleet on his displays. Look at them. A few hundred primitive ships think they can challenge the might of our entire empire. Their arrogance will be their destruction. Sir, one of his officers said nervously, our scouts report that the human ships are different from before, larger, more heavily armed. They appear to be using our own technology against us. Impossible. Omega-class species cannot improve our technology. They lack the intelligence and creativity required. But the officer was right. The human ships were no longer the simple vessels that had first encountered the Veltak Empire. They were hybrid designs that combined alien technology with human innovation. They were faster, stronger, and deadlier than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Commander Shin Yunji led the first wave of the attack. Her fighters screamed through space toward the Veltak defensive lines. The alien weapons opened fire, filling space with deadly energy beams. All fighters execute Pattern Chaos 7, she commanded. The human fighters scattered in seemingly random directions. To the Veltak, it looked like the humans were retreating in panic. But this was another human innovation. Controlled chaos tactics that looked like confusion but were actually carefully planned. The Veltak weapons, designed to target predictable flight patterns, couldn't track the wildly maneuvering human ships. Meanwhile, the human fighters were picking off Veltak vessels one by one, striking at weak points that the aliens had never bothered to defend. Sir, we're losing ships faster than we can count them, reported a Veltak officer to Overlord Zithkai. The human tactics are incomprehensible. Our targeting computers cannot predict their movements. Then we will destroy them all at once, Zithkai declared. Activate the planet defense cannon. Turn it on maximum power. Erase their entire fleet. The planet defense cannon was the Veltak Empire's ultimate weapon. It could destroy entire fleets with a single shot. It had never been used in combat because no enemy had ever been strong enough to require it. The massive weapon began to charge, drawing power from the planet's core. Energy readings climbed to unimaginable levels. In 30 seconds, it would fire a beam that would vaporize everything in its path. But Dr. Kang Soyun was ready for this moment. General O, they're charging their super weapon. Permission to test our quantum erasure device? Permission granted. Show them what human science can do. The quantum erasure weapon fired from the Soul's Revenge. It was a small beam, barely visible against the darkness of space. But when it struck the Veltak planet defense cannon, something impossible happened. The cannon didn't explode. It didn't melt or break apart. It simply stopped existing. One moment it was there, charging with enough energy to destroy a fleet. The next moment there was nothing. Not even empty space where it used to be. It was as if it had never been built. What happened to our defense cannon? Zithkai screamed, Sir, it's gone. Our sensors show no trace of it. No debris, no energy signature, nothing. That's impossible. Matter cannot simply disappear. But the humans were just getting started. General O gave the order that would change the course of galactic history. All ships target the Veltak fleet. Use quantum erasure weapons. Leave nothing behind. Hundreds of quantum erasure beams struck the Veltak Grand Fleet. Ship after ship simply vanished from existence. The mighty crystal vessels that had ruled the galaxy for millennia were being erased from reality itself. The Veltak crews were terrified. They had never faced weapons that could make their ships disappear completely. Their superior technology meant nothing against weapons that removed matter from spacetime. Retreat, Overlord Zithkai ordered. All ships retreat immediately. But there was nowhere to run. Human and alien rebel fleets surrounded the Veltak homeworld completely. Every escape route was blocked. The Alpha-class species was trapped by the very creatures they had considered barely alive. Captain Lee Do-yun, commanding a squadron of advanced human ships, opened a communication channel to the Veltak fleet. Overlord Zithkai, this is Captain Lee Do-yun of the human forces. Do you remember me? You were in the first human ship we encountered, the weak little creature who begged for mercy. I didn't beg for mercy. I offered friendship. You chose war instead. You killed my people and called us insects. How's that working out for you now? Zithkai's crystal form was glowing with rage and fear. This cannot be happening. We are the Alpha species. We have ruled for 3,000 years. You are nothing but Omega-class vermin. Your rating system was wrong, Lee replied calmly. You measured technology and psychic power, but you never measured determination. You never measured the willingness to learn and adapt. You never measured what happens when you threaten a species' survival. We will never surrender to inferior beings. You don't have a choice. More quantum erasure beams fired from the human fleet. The remaining Velthak ships began disappearing one by one. The aliens who had once seemed like gods were being systematically removed from existence. Some Velthak ships tried to surrender, broadcasting desperate pleas for mercy. Others tried to ram human vessels in suicidal attacks. A few attempted to self-destruct rather than face defeat by an Omega-class species. But the humans showed the same mercy that the Velthak had shown to other species over the millennia. None at all. Within 6 hours, the Velthak Grand Fleet was gone. 3,000 ships that had taken centuries to build were erased from reality in a single day. The most powerful military force in galactic history had been destroyed by the species they had considered barely worth noticing. Overlord Zithkai's flagship was the last Velthak vessel remaining. His crew was dead or had abandoned ship. He stood alone in his command center, watching human ships surround him. Captain Lee, he transmitted, I request terms of surrender. There are no terms, Lee replied. Your species chose extermination over coexistence. You tried to erase humanity from existence. Now you can experience what that feels like. Please, we were wrong about your species. You are clearly not Omega class. You are beyond our rating system entirely. Too late for that realization. The quantum erasure beam struck Zithkai's ship. The last vessel of the Velthak Empire vanished from reality, taking with it the being who had ruled the galaxy for over 1,000 years. The Velthak homeworld was now defenseless. General O gave the final order. Target the planet. 1 quantum erasure strike. Maximum power. Sir, one of his officers said quietly. That will erase the entire world. Billions of civilians will die. They're not civilians, O replied coldly. They're the species that tried to genocide humanity. They wanted to erase us from existence. Now they can join their fleet. The massive quantum erasure beam struck the Velthak homeworld. For just a moment, the crystal planet glowed with impossible light. Then it was gone. Not destroyed, not broken apart, but completely erased from space-time. The heart of the Galactic Empire simply stopped existing. Across the galaxy, every alien species received the same message. The Velthak Empire is finished. The Alpha-class species has been erased from existence by the Omega-class humans. A new age begins now. The war was over. Humanity had not just won. They had rewritten the Fundum. President Nahijan stood before the Galactic Assembly, looking out at representatives from over 300 alien species. Where once a crystal throne had held the Velthak overlord, now stood a simple podium. The age of monarchy was over. Fellow beings of the galaxy, she began. Today we gather not as rulers and subjects, but as equals. The alpha rating system that divided us for thousands of years is abolished. From this day forward, every species will be judged by their actions, not their classification. The alien representatives listened in stunned silence. Many of them had spent their entire lives believing that the Velthak were natural-born rulers. The idea that all species were equal was revolutionary. A Carisian delegate raised his hand. President Na, what will happen to the former Velthak territories? There are millions of worlds without government. They will govern themselves, Na replied. Every world that wants independence will receive it. Every species that was enslaved will be freed. The age of empire is over. Director Wu Kyungsu was working day and night to reorganize galactic society. His office was filled with maps, data charts, and communication devices that never stopped ringing. The task of rebuilding after 3,000 years of imperial rule was enormous. Director, we have another problem, his assistant announced. The Zephyrian species is demanding that we give them the former Velthak mining worlds as payment for joining our side in the war. Tell them no, Wu replied without looking up from his paperwork. Those worlds belong to the species that were forced to work in the mines. We're liberating people, not creating new masters. But the Zephyrians have a powerful fleet. They could cause trouble if we refuse them. Wu finally looked up, his expression cold. Let me make something very clear to the Zephyrians and every other species in this galaxy. Humans didn't defeat the Velthak Empire just so we could create a new empire. But if any species thinks they can take the Velthak's place as galactic bullies, they will discover that our quantum erasure weapons work just as well on them. The message was passed along quickly. Within hours, the Zephyrian demands were quietly withdrawn. Fleet Admiral Park Sung-ho commanded the new Galactic Defense Force. Unlike the old Velthak fleets that existed to conquer and control, his ships had a different mission: exploration and protection. "Admiral, long-range sensors have detected signals from beyond the galactic rim," reported his science officer. "It appears to be a distress call from an unknown species." "Set course for the signal," Park ordered. "Let's see who our new neighbors are." His flagship, the Unity, was a marvel of human engineering. It combined the best technology from dozens of species, all working together for the first time in galactic history. The ship represented everything the new galaxy could become. As they traveled toward the mysterious signal, Park thought about how much had changed. 2 years ago, humans were considered the lowest form of life in the galaxy. Now they were the most powerful species that had ever existed. But with that power came responsibility. The distress signal led them to a small fleet of refugee ships. The aliens inside were unlike any species in the galactic database. They were tall, thin beings with silver skin and large black eyes. Their ships were damaged and barely functional. "This is Fleet Admiral Park Sung-ho of the Galactic Defense Force," he transmitted to the refugee ships. "Do you require assistance?" The reply came in a language that the translation computers couldn't understand, but the tone was clear: desperation and hope. It took several hours to establish communication, but eventually the story became clear. The refugees were from another galaxy, fleeing from a species called the Devourers. These creatures consumed entire worlds, leaving nothing behind but empty space. "How many Devourers are there?" Park asked through the translation system. "Millions of ships," the refugee leader replied. "They have consumed thousands of worlds in our galaxy. We are all that remains of our people." Park felt a familiar anger rising in his chest. Another species of bullies, destroying everything in their path. "How far behind you are they?" "Perhaps a few years. They move slowly, but they never stop. They will find this galaxy eventually." Park opened a communication channel to Earth. Within minutes, he was speaking directly to President Nahijin. "Madam President, we have a situation. There's another threat coming from outside our galaxy, something called the Devourers. How dangerous are they? They sound worse than the Velthak ever were. The Velthak at least kept other species alive as slaves. These Devourers just consume everything." President Na was quiet for a moment. "Admiral, bring the refugees to Earth. We need to learn everything we can about this new threat. If the Devourers think they can come to our galaxy and continue their feeding, they're about to discover that humanity is very protective of our new friends." The refugee ships were welcomed to Earth with open arms. The survivors were given homes, food, and medical care. In return, they shared everything they knew about the Devourers. Dr. Park Nari, now the head of the Galactic Research Institute, studied the alien data with growing concern. "President Na, the Devourers are unlike anything we've ever faced. They don't use technology the way we understand it. They seem to be biological ships that actually eat matter and convert it to energy. Can our quantum erasure weapons stop them? I don't know. Our weapons work by removing matter from space-time, but these creatures seem to exist partially outside normal space-time already. We might need to develop entirely new weapons." Professor Bei Taewan was already working on the problem. His laboratory now employed scientists from dozens of species, all working together to prepare for the coming threat. "The key is understanding how they digest matter," he explained to his team. "If we can disrupt their biological processes, we might be able to stop them without having to destroy them completely." "You want to cure them instead of killing them?" asked his Caresian assistant. "I want to give them a choice," Bei replied. "The Velthak chose to be tyrants, so we erased them. But maybe the Devourers are just following their biological programming. Maybe we can find a way to feed them that doesn't involve destroying civilizations." Meanwhile, the scattered survivors of the Velthak Empire were learning what life was like without their precious alpha rating. Most of them had been relocated to a small cluster of worlds on the edge of human space. They were given basic supplies and left to govern themselves. Some Velthak had adapted to their new circumstances. They worked alongside other species, contributing their advanced knowledge to galactic society. These individuals were welcomed and respected for their abilities, not their species, but others could not accept their fall from power. They formed small terrorist groups, launching attacks against human installations and alien colonies. These rebels called themselves the True Alpha Movement, and they believed that the natural order of the galaxy would eventually be restored. Colonel Han Myung was tasked with hunting down these terrorist cells. It was ironic work. She had once taught other species how to rebel against the Velthak, and now she was stopping the Velthak from rebelling against everyone else. "Colonel, we've located another True Alpha cell," reported her intelligence officer. "They're planning to attack a refugee settlement on Karis Prime." "How many?" "About 50 Velthak with stolen human weapons. They think they can terrorize the galaxy back into submission." Han smiled grimly. "Deploy the security teams. Let's remind these former overlords what happens when you threaten innocent people in the new galaxy." The terrorist attack was stopped before it began. The True Alpha cell was captured alive and put on trial before a mixed jury of humans and aliens. It was the first time in galactic history that former rulers were judged by their former subjects. The trial was broadcast across the galaxy. The Velthak terrorists tried to claim that they were the rightful rulers of all lesser species. They demanded that the Alpha rating system be restored and that humans surrender their weapons to the natural masters of the galaxy. The jury's verdict was unanimous: guilty of attempted genocide. The sentence was exile to an uninhabited world where they could try to build their own society without threatening others. As the Velthak terrorists were led away, one of them shouted at the human judge, "This is not over! The Alpha species will rise again. You cannot change the natural order." The judge, a young human woman named Kim Sua, replied calmly, "The natural order is that the strong protect the weak, not exploit them. You had 3,000 years to learn that lesson. You failed. Now it's our turn." 5 years after the end of the Velthak Empire, the galaxy was unrecognizable. Trade flowed freely between species that had been enemies for millennia. Scientific knowledge was shared openly instead of being hoarded by the ruling class. Wars still happened, but they were local conflicts between equals, not genocidal campaigns by superior species against inferior ones. The quantum erasure technology that had won the war against the Velthak was carefully controlled. Only the Galactic Defense Force was allowed to use it, and only against threats to galactic civilization itself. Several species had requested the technology for their own use, but President Na had refused every request. "This technology is too dangerous to spread," she explained to the Galactic Assembly. "Humans developed it out of necessity, to stop a species that was trying to exterminate us. But in peacetime there is no